All right, guys, here we go. Game number 2 in this winner's bracket round 5 matchup. I, of course, am Nursky. Joining me, Frodan. Frodan, why don't you hit us up with some player introductions?
Oh, absolutely, Nursky. So here in the bottom left, in the blue color, we have Drewbie from Team Complexity, a man who's recently engaged, I hear, Nursky. So he's very lucky and very happy. He's engaged and he's playing StarCraft 2. That is living the life.
That does
But
sound like
over,
it.
yeah, that's definitely living life. But over here, in the top right, we have none other than Axslav from Team Rain, or actually formerly from Team Rain.
Yeah.
And Axslav, he's in the red. He's a Protoss player, and he's down 0-1 currently in the series. Nursky, what are we looking in game number 2 for Axslav to come back here?
Well, we're going to be on the map Daybreak. Daybreak is a large map, which at least that should help Axslav, should help play to his favor. He kind of saw what Drewbie was going to do in game number 1, so he needs to be, I mean, obviously he needs to prepare for if Drewbie goes for some kind of a push like that again. You can't just not assume that Drewbie won't just do it again, right? So
Yeah.
I'm going to be interested to see what he does. But one nice thing about this map, I think in particular, sure, some kind of really fast 3-racks rush or something that can catch you. But I kind of feel like on this map, I really don't mind a Protoss player just going like straight 1-gate expand or something like that before they even know if the Terran player is for sure 100% going to expand. I mean, his probe, leaving when it did, should get to Drewbie's base in time enough for him to beat any kind of wall in by Drewbie. Drewbie's not going to be walling in anyways to block information. So he'll be able to see Drewbie hasn't taken gas. And right about when this first gateway finishes up, not seeing any gas from Drewbie, I would just immediately go drop the Nexus, not wait for the Cyber Core or anything like that. Just go straight into a Nexus, maybe even pull your workers off of gas temporarily. But it looks like he's going to actually keep his workers on the gas and is going to throw down that Cyber Core, so we'll end up taking a little bit later expansion than that. But I honestly wouldn't mind seeing him just pull off a gas and go ahead and drop that fast Nexus so that he wouldn't get behind Drewbie, because he should know by now, seeing no gas, that either Drewbie's going to build a bazillion racks as an all-in, or more likely just 1 racks into expand.
Yeah, no, those are definitely, that's a good way to break down a lot of possible openings. Now, at the same time here, I'm just going to go ahead and say Axslav, he has to make a play because Drewbie, as we see right now, is actually going for a very fast expansion gasless. So, you know, it's actually up to the burden of Protoss players to really punish that kind of play, especially because Drewbie scouted Axslav's double gas here. So Axslav does have a lot of flexibility in what he could choose to do, but I'm actually anxious to wait to see, as right now it looks like he is just playing passive, just not trying to reveal what he's doing just yet, because, you know, right now Drewbie just scouted his base and Axslav didn't want to reveal anything. So right now it looks like he's just gonna move around and control the map with his stalker, and overall just very standard opening, nothing revealing just yet. But we do see 2 more barracks here, so Drewbie doing the same exact build as he did last game here.
Yeah, 1 less barracks actually than he went with last game. So it's just going to go 3 racks instead of 4 racks. So I'm not going to expect him to go with that super fast marine heavy pressure that he went with in game number 1. So it's changing things up a little bit, as we do see Axslav will take his expansion now. But very interestingly is Axslav has a ton of gas saved up right now, has gone really gas heavy early on. I think he really wants to get out a lot of sentries early on here. Maybe he feels like if he goes with this gas heavy build, takes the slightly later expansion, that he'll be able to get out enough sentries to feel a little better defensively. I don't know if that's exactly his thought process, but really going gas heavy early on here. I mean, he's been floating almost near 300 gas for quite some time now, so I'm really interested to see what the play is going to be here out of Axslav behind this expansion.
You know, and interestingly enough, Axslav's actually been saving up significant amount of chrono boost. He's actually at full energy. So I'm wondering if he's trying to save it for a timing as well. But, oh, what do we see here? We see a fast 3rd Nexus. Now, this is actually really cool here, Nursky, because this is what a lot of Protosses in the GSL have been doing. You know, Parting was one of these Protosses who really was a proponent of pushing for that fast 3rd Nexus. And, you know, with the idea that Terran really can't do much to it early on as long as you can play safe.
Well, I mean, and if you think about it, I mean, if you think about it as just from an economic standpoint, right? Zurich and Protoss very similar. You know, no benefit from any special units as far as mining goes. So if you're going 2 base versus 2 base against a Terran player, you're essentially putting yourself on worse economy. So if you can get away with putting down that third Nexus and Terran can't really pressure you because you got a build that's going to play safe enough that it's hard for them to do that, why not throw down that third Nexus and put yourself at least on more equal economic footing with your Terran opponent instead of actually playing from a slightly behind situation economically.
No, yeah, and that's exactly the theory crafting behind their Nexus, and the practicality of it is very good as long as you can really reap the benefits. We see Axslav is adding on gates, which is the exact thing you should be doing. Now he is also making significant amount of sentries. He's currently at 6. Although right now we do see Drewbie is getting some pretty important upgrades here, Nerski. Combat Shield, Stim, and +1. And looks like he is still just being defensive. I don't think he has any idea about this third Nexus, does he?
No, he has no idea about the third Nexus right now. He does know that Axslav took his natural expansion, but has no idea that Axslav has actually dropped that third. Now, this is kind of an interesting play because I see Axslav actually gearing up to move out across the map. And he's taken a really heavy economic play. He's very sentry heavy. Doesn't really have a lot of damaging units. And I'm not 100% I'm sold here on this pressure rather than playing defensively when you've taken such a huge economic risk in the early game, because obviously you're going to sacrifice a little bit of tech and a little bit of your army size for that.
Yeah.
And this could be very dangerous here as he moves out into these Marine Rods. See him spreading. Stim almost complete. Has to throw on some force fields, and he could be in a lot of trouble here if he gets caught out in the open on this map once Drewbie does get stim, because Drewbie went for a pretty quick stim here.
Well, you're absolutely right about that, Nerski, because that timing that Axslav could have hit just now was actually right before Stim. Stim would have finished, towards the latter half of that battle, but Axslav actually just completely missed that.
Yeah.
And he's actually going to pull back, which is the right thing to do, but with only sentries. And, sentries and force fields are great, but you actually need some units to supplement that kind of damage. And Axslav could have been using it to just kind of pressure Terran, make him feel like, I'm going for this huge timing, but actually he's just going to pull back. Now he's going for double forges, and he's going to go for stick to that gateway style of play, as he is getting a Twilight Council as well. So he's going to have to wait for some really important upgrades before he moves out. But overall, that was the kind of play Axslav is, and you can already tell he's starting to climb ahead. His worker count is absurd here, Nerski, 63 to 41. And it is only getting higher at this point,
which is an absolutely insane number, but exactly the type of numbers you need if you want to stay ahead of a Terran player, especially when they go with those one reactive spam plays. See, actually a ton of tech right now coming out of Axslav, going Twilight Council instantly into a Templar Archive. So Axslav very tech heavy here behind that third base. We do have a drop moving out here for Drewbie, though. Will probably run into that third base. Now Axslav really doesn't have a lot of defenses at this third, so he's going to have to move pretty quickly to be able to defend it, but his army kind of slow right now, does have the Zealot leg speed on the way. Drewbie here with Stim, combat shields, and concussive shells with this small drop. I'm not sure if Axslav is going to actually be able to react to this in time. Now, Axslav did luckily have a scouting probe moving forward there, so he will be able to start moving over here to try and deal with this. Templar gets warped in as the Templar Archives finishes up, does get one of the 2 medevacs, but charge not finished yet, and Drewbie's going to be able to just stim away, kiting all these Zealots. That weakened medevac that did take the feedback does get picked off, so he does manage to deflect this off of Drewbie from now, and now Drewbie splitting up his armies. Great multitasking by Drewbie here is going to really force Axslav into a situation where he might have to split his army up. We actually see him doing that, and if Drewbie can hit one of Axslav's armies with either his full combined army, he could really do a lot of damage. And that's exactly what it looks like he wants to do. We see Drewbie's full army about to come up the ramp, has pulled all his units together. Axslav feeling like he's forced over here into the back of his natural. Drewbie going to drop into the back here of this third base. Charge has now finished up, though, for Axslav. And I'm kind of curious here what Drewbie's going to do. And Drewbie actually loads up here, Frodan.
Yeah, Drewbie at this point, he actually has a very big army compared to that of Axslav, just because Axslav's been pretty greedy here. He's actually been making probes, and he's teching. He's getting, he got charge, forge upgrades, got storm, and now he's also getting blink, so he doesn't have that much, but we have a
Nexus
here in the main. and this is doing way more damage than it should be here, Nursky.
Oh my god, he takes out the main Nexus, and now he might even get the third Nexus here. Axslav just caught totally out of position with all of his units. Drewbie is about to basically just absolutely demolish Axslav here in just a matter of 2 drops. Drewbie with just some excellent play. Really good storm goes down there by Axslav. Might save this third, but no, doesn't save the third. And just like that, Axslav loses his main, his third, and only has his natural remaining. And that huge economically that we were just talking about dwindled away down to 54 harvesters and only 1 base to mine off of. While behind this, Ghost now getting up his third base. I mean, I'm not really sure what you're going to do here if you're Axslav. You just lost 2 Nexuses in the blink of an eye. Just caught completely off guard there by Drewbie. I don't know if maybe Axslav was just teching a little bit too hard too quickly, that he couldn't defend against all this, and Drewbie already back into the main with this drop again as Axslav's forces caught out in the middle of the map. I think Axslav's just going to try and go all in here, Frodan.
Yeah, that's the only thing he can do at this point. Axslav just going for the counterattack, realizing that Drewbie has been basically calling on his bluff, saying, you know, I don't think you're that organized, but we do see force fields. You're going up from Axslav. He's going to try to engage with all of his units, does place down the storm as well, but Drewbie might just have too much. If you look back at his natural, Nursky, there's just a lot of forces that have been waiting for this, and Drewbie recognizes that this is pretty much Axslav's last-ditch effort, and Axslav, he's going to try to press in here, but I don't think it's going to be enough here.
Yeah, Axslav goes for this final assault here. Drewbie's force is still in his main. Just flash over to it for a second. No Guardian Shield, no Force Field really even. Axslav looks like he's just defeated before he even really made this push forward. And there's the GG as all of his stuff offline in his main. And just like that, Drewbie just absolutely demolishes Axslav to the tune of a 2-0 victory. Absolutely impressive there by Drewbie. Drewbie looked really good those 2 games.
Yeah, and you know, it was just solid Terran play. It wasn't anything flashy. It was just, you know, I'm gonna drop at multiple locations and press your natural front and see how you react. And Axslav just kind of got into that mentality. You know, I'm going to keep all my units onto one hotkey. I'm not going to be able to really deal with multitasking. He was not really being in multiple places at once. And, you know, Axslav, he had that huge economic advantage, and he should understand that Terran's going to try to punish it in some way, some form, and just was not able to respond to it. That's a little bit disappointing, but at the same time, it just goes to show that Drewbie, it can't be underestimated.
Thank you very much, everybody, for listening. I, of course, am Nursky. Peace out for now. Go ahead and send us off, Frodan.
All right, guys, so make sure to tune in for more action at MLG TV. Guys, make sure to also follow MLG at all of the related social networks. Thank you so much to everyone for watching. We'll catch you guys on the flip side.